Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here today on RJ's Trains. And today is a very special layout update video, and somewhat ironically I'm actually not standing next to the layout as I'm recording this. I'm actually back down at school in Washington DC, so I'm a few hundred miles away from the layout. But nevertheless, I still wanted to give you this huge layout update. Before I begin, I just want to apologize that a lot of the clips that you're going to see in this video are from previous videos, or they're behind the scenes videos, or they're just videos that haven't been published in any videos because I was too lazy to make a video or for whatever reason. So some of these clips are going to be recycled from previous videos, but you guys get to see like a cool behind the scenes sort of video as I discuss this major layout update. So let's discuss this update. And to make a long story short, is that my layout needs a major redevelopment. Now, there's a few reasons for this. For starters, when I first built my layout in late 2019, early 2020, I designed it to be capable for rail king size locomotives. My outer loop is 048, and you know, that fits most MTH Premier Line diesels. That fits, you know, anything rail king that, you know, I was running when I built the layout. Now that I've acquired the taste for finer things in life, and I am a sucker for anything Amtrak, I did order the Lionel Amtrak Acela in the latest catalog, and that requires 072 curves to, you know, run around the layout. And I would be foolish to not buy $100 worth of track so I could run a $2,000 model train. Because if I didn't upgrade my layout to 072 and I couldn't run my Acela, that is probably the most expensive thing to ever sit in a box that's ever been purchased. So that's the first reason, is that I want to be able to have 072 curves on the outer loop so I can run the Acela. The second is that the layout itself was designed very poorly, but it did a good job at what it needed to do. So when I first started constructing the layout, the room around it hadn't been completed yet, and that might be a surprise to some of you guys who haven't been with the channel for as long as like my original subscribers. I mean, we finished the room around layout update number 10, and that was about May 2020 when I was about 300 or so subscribers. So if you remember the room not being completed, then you guys are original subscribers. But nevertheless, the tables were designed to come apart and roll out so we could finish the room. And when the tables were reassembled, they didn't fit back in perfectly with, you know, how they originally were. And because of this, the tables are very uneven, and you can see it in my videos how I have buildings that straddle the border between two tables and they're crooked. And it also doesn't help that the floor is also uneven beneath the tables. And so I really need to get underneath the layout and level all of the tables to help with smoother operation. And the last major reason that I want to redo the layout is that I've been having a lot of wiring issues lately. In all honesty, Lionel Fast Track is definitely not the best track system to be using on a permanent layout if you don't wire it correctly, which is what happened in my case. I used, you know, just 2 feeder wires and a lot of the like small, you know, 1 3/8 inch, 1 3/4 inch pieces of fast track, which are very prone to, you know, breaking, and it stops the flow of electricity. And with the feeder, I need more feeder wires around my layout for better electric conductivity. And my control panel is atrocious. It looks like a rat's nest, as you're seeing now in this picture. I wouldn't wish this control panel on my worst enemy, and that's because when I was originally laying out all the wires from the track to the power supply, I didn't have to worry about running them to TIU and having a place to put the TIU. And now I have a TIU, and the wires aren't long enough to stretch there, which creates this mess. And it's causing problems with a lot of my Lionel TMCC engines. And so I just want to be able to rewire everything, make sure that it's done 100% correctly, and just so I know that I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that these locomotives are, being kept in the best condition possible and being run under the best possible conditions possible. So now on to the, what's actually going to happen. And so for starters, the outer loop is going to become 072. The layout itself the track plan is going to remain relatively the same. The only difference is that there's going to be bigger areas in the corners for, me to do scenery than there are now. And the inner loop is going to be 048. I'm still going to have the 2-stall engine shed. I'm still going to have 2 spurs to park some freight cars on the far right-hand side of the table. But it is going to have to require a lot of work. Now, thankfully, past RJ put grass mats on top of 2 of the tables so that all I have to do is lift up the grass mat, all the scenery comes up, and I can start off with a new blank canvas. The only issue is that the piece of plywood where the city is, I did all the scenery right on top of the plywood, so that's going to be a lot more difficult to get up. But I have experience with pulling up ballast and other hard scenery, so hopefully it won't be too bad of a problem. But it is, it is going to be challenging. Now, I'm not 100% set on doing this project. It really depends on what happens after I graduate school and the whole 9 yards. But the whole purpose is that I wanted my layout to be in the best functional condition as humanly possible. And because I rushed constructing my layout the first time around because I was in quarantine and had nothing better to do, I made mistakes. If you ask anybody who's ever made a layout, they will tell you that they've made mistakes. Building this layout now was a great learning experience, and I've learned a lot, and now I know what I need to do for this next layout. Now, of course, the scenery is going to have to be done all over again. Like I said, the track plan is going to stay pretty much the same. The scenery is going to stay pretty much the same. I'm not going to be adding any new buildings. I'm not going to be adding, any new streets. For the most part, if I redo the layout and when I get it all done, the layouts are going to look very, very similar. They are just going to operate a heck of a lot better. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. If you have any suggestions for me, leave them down in the comments because I'm always open to suggestions. If you think that there should be a scene on my next layout, if I redo my layout, or, wiring tips for Lionel Fast Track, or the whole 9 yards, that would greatly be appreciated. But for now, take care and stay safe.